Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So this is going to be my Scarlet Witch video as promised. Obviously, the movie's going to change a few things about what's going on with Scarlet Witch in the comics, so I'm going to do a comic book explainer, and then I'll explain, what the movie is changing about the character, mostly just the backstory. She's like one of those characters in the comics that has god-level powers at certain points, so I think Joss Whedon, whatever version he decided to go with, depowered her just like a little bit to make it a little more believable compared to the other characters. Just to get things started, let's do origin story. So, Scarlet Witch and her brother Quicksilver were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, as they did many other characters, in 1964. She appeared for the first time in X-Men number 4. In that issue, the classic X-Men team goes up against Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants for the first time. Scarlet Witch and her brother are just part of that evil team. But at that time, they were not Magneto's children. That didn't get added to their backstory till way later in Avengers 186 in 1979. So many years later. You can thank John Byrne for making them Magneto's children. In that issue, Bova tells Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver their story of their mother, Magda. She's like, your mother came to me, she was pregnant, she gave birth to twins. Magda was the wife of Magneto, so thus they became Magneto's children. Fast forward all the way to today during the Axis event that happened last year, and they kind of retconned that. So Marvel said officially, they're not going to explain Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's new backstory in the comics until they start the new Uncanny X-Men title after Secret Wars. So if you are a big comic book fan, you'll probably have to wait till after Secret Wars to find out what their new backstory is in the comics. If you don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Just watch the movie. The movie will totally explain what's going on with them. The reason Joss Whedon and Marvel had to change their backstory for the movie is really kind of silly. It's just because in the comics, they bounce back and forth between X-Men and Avengers so much. Like, they appeared in the Avengers for so long that Marvel and Fox share rights. So they can both use versions of those characters. It's just there are a few things that they can't do. For instance, Marvel cannot use the word mutant. That is something that Fox owns as part of its X-Men copyright. That's why Marvel is making such a big deal of the Inhumans. Like, they want to do meta-human powers, people with special abilities. The Inhumans is the way for them to do that. It's just a way to describe people with meta-human powers. And whenever the movie gets here in May, they'll spend like the first 15 minutes or so kind of explaining where Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch come from. It'll be way easier to follow, but let's do a comic book history, because Scarlet Witch is one of the most interesting characters. So for the most part, Scarlet Witch's biggest moments have been when she's been part of the Avengers. Most of you have probably heard about how she had a relationship with the Vision, and then they had 2 children that turned out to be magic babies that were fake. That ended up happening way later. She first joined the Avengers in 1965 in issue number 16 in a story called The Old Order Changeth. Stan Lee just wanted to change the lineup. I think he felt like some of the Avengers were getting boring, so he wanted to bring new characters in. So he replaced Thor, Iron Man, Giant Man, and the Wasp with Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and Hawkeye. If you guys have been following the news, they've said, yes, they will be changing the movie version of the Avengers. They'll be changing that roster in the next couple years. Just bringing in some fresh meat for the Infinity Gem grinder. In the comics, though, whenever Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver first joined up, they called the new squad Cap's Kooky Quartet. I mean, even though it's technically still the Avengers. But look for an Easter egg for that in Avengers Age of Ultron, Cap's Kooky Quartet. So one of her next big, really weird storylines was starting the romance with the Vision. That didn't start till 1973 in issue number 109. That's also the same issue where Hawkeye bailed on the Avengers. He left. As weird as it sounds, starting a romance with a robot, they kind of addressed it. Quicksilver, her brother at the time, was like, this is bullcrap, I can't believe it. Hawkeye really hated the idea too, but he was just jealous. He was in love with Scarlet Witch too. So here's where things start to get a little weird. She and Vision leave the Avengers in issue number 211. They have like a 12-issue limited series where it's like Scarlet Witch and the Vision. It's all about their relationship. Later, she winds up getting pregnant with the Vision using magic. Remember, he's an android, can't father biological children, even though he's probably fully functional like Data from Star Trek. She gives birth to twins, Thomas and William. That was volume 2, issue number 12. That was around like 1986. Then they end up joining West Coast Avengers. So the next big arc kind of leads up into Avengers Disassembled, where she goes completely nuts. So slowly, like, her world starts to get torn down around her. The Vision gets dismantled in a big fight, and Wonder Man, whose brain was used to like pattern Vision's brain, won't allow himself to be used again to make a new Vision. So she can't get her husband back, and then she loses her children. You can thank John Byrne for all this. This is like 1980s John Byrne era. So in 1989, West Coast Avengers issue 52, it's revealed that her twin sons are actually soul shards from the demon Mephisto. In order to defeat him, they have to erase Scarlet Witch's memory, Then eventually she remembers what happened, and she kind of starts to go a little nuts. Much later, her powers start to get upgraded. She starts to get her chaos magic. She wants to get her children back. Like, she wants to use magic to bring them back. So she goes to Doctor Doom, and he helps her fuse with this cosmic entity, which upgrades her to like god level power. This is like the beginning of the House of M event, probably one of the most famous Scarlet Witch storylines of all time. When she merged with that cosmic entity, it takes over her mind, and she goes a little nuts and starts a war against the Avengers. She blames them for all the bad things that have happened to her and her family. Eventually, they're able to stop her, and Magneto and Quicksilver, like her family, take her away to recover. Because of the damage that she had caused, Quicksilver freaks out and is worried that the X-Men and the Avengers are going to try to kill her. So he convinces her to use her chaos magic to create a world where everyone gets everything that they've always wanted. That's the really famous "No More Mutants" line right there. That happened in House of M number 7. Much later, they're able to undo the damage, but they can't undo the stain on Scarlet Witch. Like, everyone looks at her differently. They're like, okay, you completely messed the world up. You are totally crazy. During X-Men vs. Avengers, whenever they were fighting the Phoenix Force, she and Hope combined their powers to say "No More Phoenix" in a nice twist on the "No More Mutants" line. So that repowered everyone and kind of reversed a lot of the damage that she had done. So as you can see, she has like crazy level powers and has some really ridiculous storylines. Movies, naturally, probably going to sidestep her having magic babies with the Vision, but I think they will have some more fun with the idea of her chaos magic and her powers. Just to explain her powers, they're pretty interesting. One of the reasons Joss Whedon said he wanted to put her in the movie is because her powers work in a way that we haven't seen on screen. It's just like really new and interesting. Also, I think she works thematically with the idea of an Ultron Vision-based story. Joss Whedon said initially, like, his idea for Avengers 2 was he wanted to do Ultron, and he wanted Paul Bettany to become the Vision in the movie. Like, that was the basis for Age of Ultron, and then he built it out from there. He wanted to bring in some other new characters, so I think, based on that foundation, Scarlet Witch just worked best. Just like a lot of other characters, over her comic book history, her powers have evolved. Like, they've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they've kind of toned them down a little bit. But as of where we are right now, she has like cosmic level abilities, which is, I think, kind of works with the movies and the Infinity Gems. Her biggest power is the ability to manipulate probability over a limited area. So like inside a bubble, she can cast a hex that will give the Avengers really good luck. Or if her powers backfire, like if her hex backfires, it'll give them really bad luck. You can see how that'd be really useful in battle. Like if a pile of Ultron replicants start to bury the Avengers in a fight, she can cast a hex bubble, making it easier for them to win. Eventually, she learned to use that ability as a form of tactical kinesis, so she can deflect objects, open doors, make things explode, create force fields. She can even make electronic circuits go haywire. So you can see that would come in handy if she has to fight an army of robots. Later in the 1990s, she learned to use more traditional magic like Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange use. There was even a run that Jeff Johns wrote on where she was able to resurrect Wonder Man. I know, everybody thinks that's weird. Jeff Johns has been at DC Comics for so long, but he did write at Marvel before he came to DC. House of M, though, that was where she got crazy universe-altering powers. Obviously, for the movie, they're going to depower her a little. Like, they're not going to give her the ability to change the entire universe. But during the Avengers vs. X-Men run, they explained that her magic comes from a cosmic source. Cosmic like the Infinity Gem and Loki's staff. Which brings us to the movies. So if you remember at the end of Winter Soldier, they had that Baron von Strucker post-credits scene where they talk about experimenting on test subjects and the survivors. And it's like the twins. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are the only survivors of their experiments with Loki's scepter. Kevin Feige already confirmed that the Mind Gem is in Loki's staff. They haven't fully explained the extent of its powers or its effects on Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, so we'll have to wait for the movie to figure that out, but I think that they'll explain her powers across the course of the film. Like, we'll see her use certain powers at the beginning, and then later in like the third act, she'll unveil some mega superpower. It just feels like a very movie thing to do. Like, oh, you thought this was all I could do. Bam, here we go, Infinity Stone power. As predictable as big Hollywood movies are, I think there'll be a few surprises in terms of her powers. I mean, it'll be interesting to see it play out on screen. This picture of her mind-controlling Black Widow just looks so awesome. There's a lot of theories that that's the reason why the Hulk is fighting Iron Man, because she puts the whammy on all of them. It just makes them go crazy. For all intents and purposes, though, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are the beginning of special powers inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Obviously, they have the Inhumans too, and their powers come from a different source, but it's all about seeing mutant abilities on screen as opposed to like science-based abilities like Thor with his hammer and Iron Man with his suit. Really, the next step from here is explaining Doctor Strange's full-blown magic. Hopefully we'll get a small tease of that in Captain America Civil War, because Doctor Strange is like the next movie after that. Here's my big question for you guys. What's your favorite Scarlet Witch story of all time? And do you think that she's gonna have like some crazy moment in Age of Ultron where she'll go like no more mutants? Like a version of that where she'll just destroy an army of robots? Just on paper, it seems like the Vision's gonna be the one to help them defeat Ultron, but I am expecting a big Scarlet Witch moment. As much as the movies change stuff from the comics, they do try to honor like the really big comic book moments. In related Inhumans news, there's going to be new Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. next week, so be sure to subscribe to get that video. I've already done an explainer video for the Inhumans. If you haven't seen it, you can click here to learn all about them, and you can click here to learn all about the new Supergirl TV series. I'm interested to see which direction they take it in, but I haven't seen the pilot yet. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tonight. Now let's all do the thing.